Welcome, it's Matt, and today we're going to talk about Crown Sword, Zacian, and Shield Zamazenta. That's going to appear Pokemon Go Fest 2025, which is really going to shake up the Dynamax scene for quite a while. All right now we have a lot to talk about. And first, we're going to start about the Pokemon forms, which is going to be Zacian and Zamazenta. We're going to have to do approximately, for what I remember last year, about at least 10 battles against each in order to gain enough Crown Sword or Shield energy, depending on obviously which Pokemon. And it will require that each of these will need the special moved Iron Head, and that will change the attack to either Blade for Zacian or Bash for Zamazenta. The good news is once a trainer changes either Zacian or Zamazenta's form once, we could change it back as many times without using the energy, which is really helpful. And for people who are on a budget and aren't doing a lot of raids, you really can do it within 20 raids overall, which is not that expensive for the Go Fest. For a lot of others, including myself, I'm going to go hog wild. I'm super excited. I have a Zamazenta already. That's a Hundo and a Lucky Zacian. The Hundo Zamazenta is already level 50. That's going to be the first one, but I have to get Iron Head on for the charged attack for each. Unleashing in max battles is going to be the really interesting part. Right now, we are being told that we are going to be able to unlock and level up guard and spirit moves and the max attack as well. We do not know if it's going to be 200 power or 250 power. I've seen in the files that there is an unknown 250, and the charged attack that we expect is going to be 200. So that could mean it only goes up to 250 or it starts at 250. I'm not sure. We're going to run, at least with the attacks, two different ways. One that starts with 200 and you can get to level 3 that will get to 300. The other one that starts at 250 like all the other Dynamax and treat it similar to a Dynamax Pokemon. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with some of the analysis and look into each of the units. And right now, as you can see, you're seeing all of the attacks and the animations that we'll get to see when we transform Zamazenta and Zacian. All right, Hero of Many Battles Zacian is the Zacian that we currently have. It is only a fairy type, and the IV is between 2100 to 2188 CP to 2625 and 2735 CP. For the Hundos, this is what I expect us to be looking for. So the Hundos is either going to be 2188 or if you're weather boosted 2735. This is going to be one of the few times where we can expect weather boosted. We will be fighting Zacian overall. So it is going to be important to understand that it will take increased damage from poison and steel, which is honestly kind of interesting, as one of the big weaknesses of Zacian is going to be, and Zamazenta are going to be the crown versions, as they're primarily steel type attackers. Zacian is strong against Bug, Dark, and Fighting, and really strong against Dragon. The stats for Zacian are really good to begin with, and they're just going to get better when we transform them. And this is what makes them so powerful. But for the attack, obviously, you're going to be able to do this in normal raids and not Dynamax. So this should be a lot simpler for most people to be able to get. And with that, you will be also able to, obviously, remote raid to get what you're looking for. Zamazenta is a fighting type, so it's weak to fairy, flying, and psychic. It is strong against Bug, Dark, and Rock. Has the exact same stats and the same CP overall. When you're fighting Zamazenta, you want Fairy, Flying, or Psychic. I'm basically going to be using my Mewtwo, my Metagross. My Metagross is the Dynamax Metagross, and some of the Flying, maybe from Moltres. All in all, should be a pretty easy battle as well for Zamazenta. I already have a Hundo, so basically I'm really just fighting for the energy. I would love a Shundo, obviously, but Zamazenta's stats, as I say, are the same as Zacian. Now we get into Crown Shield Zacian. These will be when you transform. You will get a really unique typing of Fairy and Steel. And let me tell you, this is a fantastic unit in general. It has really just two weaknesses that I'll go through a little bit later. Let's go through its strengths. Its only weaknesses are fire and ground. Yes, we do fight a lot of fire, and ground is a bit annoying as well. But in general, this is a very easy to avoid types. And Zacian has a massive amount of resistances. 37.5%. It resists 9 different types: dark, fairy, flying, grass, ice, normal, poison, psychic, and rock. Does 60.9% resist on bug, and Zacian is a dragon killer. It resists 75.6% dragon, which is quite rare. Usually you're fighting dragons against dragons. And the nice thing about Zacian is that it will be able to reduce dragons, and this is going to be, I'm expecting us at some point as trainers to be able to finally get a dragon type for, other than, theoretically, if we are able to Mega and then Dynamax Charizard, we'd have it, but well, right now we're still definitely looking for some dragon types to go and fight against, and Zacian will be your main tank. What's interesting though is at 240 defense, it is incredibly tanky, but its attack is absolutely incredible at 332. And honestly, this is going to make it a very strong unit. Depending on the attack, if it's 250 like a Dynamax, it's going to outrank almost any Gmax that we will be receiving, or at least a Gmax that we'll be receiving for quite some time. And obviously, you're going to have to play around with typing, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Now let's go over to Zamazenta. I always forget the N, so I do apologize. It is a fighting steel type. Not as rare as Zacian, but it has its own unique skills, which are very good in general. It is weak to fighting fire and ground. So both Zamazenta and Zacian are weak to fire and ground. That's going to be one of the few areas where we might be taking other Pokemon in general. And but with its defense of 292, its weaknesses can still be overcome, as Zamazenta takes about half as much damage as Blissey does. So even with its HP at 192, still has roughly the same amount of HP absorption capability with a bunch of resistances. Those resistances are 37.5% of dark, dragon, grass, ice, normal, and steel. That's only 6. But it does have 3 60.9% resistances of bug, poison, and rock. The rock, honestly, is really important for Zamazenta, along with its incredibly high defense. We're going to be using Zamazenta an awful lot. We are not exactly sure if we're going to get the exact same amount of shield strength, but honestly, as long as they don't have it, Zamazenta is going to be the best tank out there, assuming that with the resistance it has, that it's not going against something like firefighting and ground. It will be the best tank that we have. Honestly, it's one of the top 5 for tanks just in general anyways, for this high amount of defense and a decent amount of stamina. It's not Shuckle, where it only has 10 HP. And that combination of defense, stamina, and resistances really put it just up there, and it's going to be something that we really need to ensure that we get. And personally, I have Zamazenta over Zacian because of its insane defense numbers. It's not as sexy as Zacian, but I think it's more important. Here's going to be one of the greatest weaknesses of Zacian as the Crown Shield is its fast moves. Metal Claw and Ice Fang are the only two fast moves. Making an assumption here that it can do both a Dynamax or transformed version of both. We do know that Steel will be one of its moves, but I'm also assuming that we will get Ice as well. We do know we get Behemoth Blade at either going to be 200 or 250. I have making an assumption right now that Ice Fang it will be as well. That could be absolutely wrong, and this is an absolute preview and some estimations and guesses on my part and part of the communities, so we will see. But they're kind of keeping it relatively tight right now, and so the very least from a steel standpoint, Zacian will be king by far on attack. For Zamazenta, it's the same thing. The only thing is Behemoth Bash has a 125 instead of a 200. I think that's a little too low. Even if that is the case, Zamazenta is really more for the tankiness, and even if you don't have the attack, it's not nearly as bad. But all in all, still very exciting. All right, so if we're going to do the 2 damage capabilities, the first one here is Ice. Have a very big caveat here, trainers. This is the assumption that it will be able to attack via Ice with its fast move. I'm not unsure right now if they're going to treat it like a G-Max where it only has the one move, or you could switch it out. It does not say either way in any of their communications, so here is the first really big assumption. Now, you're going to see Zamazenta and Zacian in 2 different boxes each. The ones in yellow are their weakened conditions, or assuming that they start at 200, and the ones that are in white are equivalent to any of the Dynamax at 250 start. As you can see here, it doesn't really matter a great deal for Zacian, as Zacian will be the best Ice type attacker, assuming it gets to attack Ice and Dynamax. Another, as I say, very big assumption there. If it's 200 or 250, it still doesn't matter. It outdoes Lapras. Ice types tend to be relatively low attacking, high defense, high HP Pokemon. And so with that, Zacian still just outdoes the G-Max Lapras, and that's what over 300 attack will do for you. Where Zamazenta is in the middle of the pack, and depending on whether or not if it's 200 or 250, it is going to be trailing way behind Zacian, but overall, you're going to be using Zamazenta more as a tank and then using it to be able to attack. And considering Zamazenta reduces damage by 33% over Articuno, and it basically going on both sides of Articuno, it just tells you how strong Zamazenta is as a tank, as Articuno is a very powerful tank as well. Now for Steel, we have the same caveats here. The ones in yellow or orange are the 200 versus the ones in white are in 250, but there are no units that go in between Zacian or Zamazenta, so it really doesn't matter too much. But Zacian greatly outdeals Metagross in damage if it's going to be 250, or it only goes about 15% over Zacian with Metagross right now. This is how powerful Metagross is, and I know a lot of trainers kind of poo-poo because of the 1 second. Zacian does have a 0.5 second attack along with Zamazenta, and that does make it much better than Metagross. End of story there, even with if Zacian only had the 200 attack. With that, yes, Zacian will be able to outdo Metagross, and they have roughly the same tanking capabilities. Zamazenta, though, as a steel tank, far exceeds whatever Metagross can do, but Metagross does more damage, And Metagross is going to be knocked out of my top 2 rankings once we hit Pokemon Go Fest. Metagross is my number 1. It is my S+, and my boy is going to be knocked out finally. Personally, Zamazenta is my number 1 now, followed by Zacian. And yes, I know they're both steel types, but they're going to be used much more than anything else. All right, my rankings for Zacian. As an attacker, it is number 1 across the board. And by everybody, even Gmax, it is just the best attacker that we have. Right now, there's going to be a lot of people going, oh, Gmax attack with this, Gmax attack with that. Zacian will be the one that if we've only got neutral data, or we don't have any Gmax especially that has that type of an attack, Zacian will probably be the number 1 attacker. So just get used to it. It's going to be used incredibly often. As a tank, it's quite good across the board for ice and steel. Overall, I have it ranked a little bit above average. There are units that have stronger tanking type. And as a healer, it really depends on which elements. Ice, it is the worst healer of Ice group because Ice generally has a lot of hit points. Zacian has about a slightly below average hit points in the overall general. While in Steel, it's still in the middle, a little bit above middle for its healing capabilities. Now, Zamazenta, the healer does not change from Zacian as they have the exact same HP, but instead of it being the number 1 tank in the game, attacker in the game right now for Dynamax, it is the best tank in the game, hands down, all the way through across the board. Unlike Zacian, though, Zamazenta's attack is still well on the top 75 to 80% of the board. And so it overall as a unit is just a little bit more well-rounded in my regards. Once again, for Ice, it is the 2nd best attacker behind Zacian. Steel, it is 3rd best attacker behind Metagross and Zacian. Metagross now is a 9 out of 10, while Zacian obviously is the perfect attacker. So overall, both of these units are incredibly powerful. The only issue is they're not healers, but at this point, these Pokemon really can push away from a healer-needed meta to a pure, we're going to use shields. Shields are going to hold, and we can attack with our shields because the shields will hold for so long. So is Crowned Zacian worth it for you? It's currently the top dog for attacking, at least in terms of stats. Really, though, wish it had a very fast move. We're really desperate for very fast moves right now. But with its great defense and fantastic resistances, and I'm going to be honest, these might be the best resistance in the game right now from a spread. If Zamazenta had these, I honestly would say Zamazenta might be the best Pokemon in Dynamax, period. But Zacian does beat it with, I feel, better resistances. Its only issue is the healing is meh, and that really can only use its Steel fast move, which is a fantastic fast move, so it's not a huge negative versus all the huge positives. Finally, for Zamazenta, it's just the opposite reasoning. It's currently the top dog for tanking, and with really good resistances to boot. It's not the top resistances, but I think it's in the top 3. And it has 3 strong resistances instead of 1 strong, 1 incredibly strong, like Zacian, but Zacian's I like just better as a mix of a suite. It's got a great attack with no fighting fast move, though, which is a bit frustrating. And my priority will be to get Zamazenta first, partially because it is more unparalleled as a tank than Zacian is as an attacking unit. I could survive not having either, but I definitely will have an easier time only having a Zamazenta if I had to choose over a Zacian. But I will be live streaming during the Go Fest I will be doing the Liberty Park, New York City on Friday morning. So I might be one of the first ones to actually be able to transform the Zamazenta and Zacian with that Friday mornings. And with that, going to then probably try and test some max battles during the weekend as well, and show and get a really good feel for it, which I will make a new report on sometime the week after that. I will have a little bit of time that I'm going to be stuck in traveling back and forth from home, a good 6-7 hour trip, but it will be entertaining at the very least, and I'm very, very excited now for Zamazenta and Zacian. With that, please like and subscribe. That really helps my channel. I'm so close to 3K subscribers, and honestly, that was my goal for the end of the year. I'm going to try for about 5K now for the end of the year, really try to stretch it out. And anybody that signs up and subscribes will be eternally grateful. On top of it, I am now starting to try to build a community. If you subscribe with a monthly, you can be part of the videos at the end here. And my Discord is going to be opening up by the end of the month, which will allow people to go through. We can get friends and do other things. Once again, it's going to be more community driven there. And with that, it will really help out overall. You can also watch me on twitch.tv/madguru. I tend to be live, especially during the summertime, live around 4 to 5 times a week. I'll play some RPGs. I also have a Pokemon community game that you can play, along with a 24/7 game that plays on my stream. I tend to push my hours there as well. Finally, I'm starting to get mostly healthy from this head cold. You can hear my voice has been a little bit solid. There's been a couple of coughs in between here and there. As always, I'll try to do better next time. See you guys later. Bye.